Once again, good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. As always, I am Zak, the Corruption Detector, and this is another edition of Red Pill News. Joining me, as he often does, my good friend, Robert Kudla. Bob, what's going on, brother?
Hey, Zak, yeah. You think I've never done an interview before? I'm dropping the mouse on interview. I'm doing great. I mean, it's just, in my world, disruption and volatility are our friend. But I think the next 60 days are going to be just, I think, unprecedented in terms of things that we don't expect to happen will happen. Some of it good, some of it not so good, but it will not be boring for the rest of the year. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Well, just for anybody who isn't aware, tell us who you are and tell us what Trade Genius does.
Yeah, so Trade Genius, we provide information and we also provide trade signals for the stock market, cryptocurrency. We do futures trades and we also do binary options. It's a pretty cool way for people just starting out to trade to learn how to make money with a small account. And we have a system, we think it's the premier system out there, called the Profit Ribbon System. And it essentially looks at price action and it notices when there's buying pressure coming into a stock or an ETF and also sell pressure. So it gets you in at the right time and it gives you a high degree of opportunity to profit each and every time. So what we do with that is that we teach you how to use it. We actually provide you with the indicator on your PC so that you can trade things that we don't trade. We have chat rooms running 24/7 across all our products. And then we also have the ability to do personal coaching and things like that. So we have a high win rate and we have what's called a high profit factor, which means when we win more money than when we lose. And so it's a really good system. And especially now that I think the easy money from summer is gone, you're just going to need a system that's going to notice these changes in dynamics. And they're going to come like almost every day now versus being able to buy something and sit on it for, weeks at a time. So, and also what we do, Zak, is that we put specials together for your listeners. They can just go to tradelikeagenius.com. You can go ahead and purchase one of the bundles. They're very, very modestly priced. And also you can go and select things on a ad hoc basis. And those are not pre-discounted, but you can go ahead and use the promo code SCHOOL and get 40% off of the retail price for those. Got to take advantage of it by Saturday, though.
All right, perfect. And that information is in the pinned comment or the description below. And I see that you sent me over a couple of attaboys to put up here, and you saved one of your customers $40,000. It's perfectly timed because Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports said that he lost $4 million over the course of the last couple of days. There's been some kind of a correction in the NASDAQ?
Yeah, so, I mean, if we had time, we could dive into it deep at some point, but basically there's been a manipulation in the price of primarily the FANG stocks, which is the NASDAQ, since the middle of June. And what they basically doing, they were manipulating option prices, which caused other players to have to buy stocks. And it just became basically a virtuous kind of signal. Well, people get confused. They think they're great stock traders when the market is running in their direction. And Portnoy, he jumped on that. That's right when he was really getting into stocks. And he was just getting a little bit too big for his britches, not losing money. How easy it is. I'm buying a yacht. I can't believe people lose money in the stock market. The suits are idiots, yada, 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 yada. And then all of a sudden last Wednesday, somebody discovered who the player was, which was SoftBank out of Japan. And so for the next 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, they basically barbecued that trade. And Portnoy just kept buying into it. And he had a big position in Tesla. A company's essentially worthless that's been priced out at a $500 billion market cap. And I've just been telling people for the last couple of weeks saying, hey, summer's ending. September is not friendly for the stock market. The election is going to cause some turmoil. The Democrats can't get anything to go wrong, so they're going to try to crash the market. And I said, if you made really good money, just take them off the table. and just let's sit and watch for the next couple of weeks. And cash is a trading position, and so that's what that reference for that person was. Hey, he joined. He just said, hey, maybe I should take some chips off the table, and he's $40,000 happier. And because look, markets go two ways. I think Portnoy is a brilliant guy. He's a brilliant marketer, but when you think things only can go a certain direction, because he had a bias because he's never experienced a market downturn before. And literally for the last 18 months, they've been lifting this market. The Fed is terrified of a stock market crash because of all the things that go along with it. And obviously President Trump doesn't want one either. So you got the Treasury Department and you got the Fed and you got a lot of these big hedge funds. Nobody wants to lose money, right? And so they're all been yakking up the markets. But at some point, no matter how good everything is, you're going to get these big corrections. And for Portnoy, losing $4 million is unacceptable management practice. Here's a CEO of a company telling people that he does not practice risk management, which is probably not good for his business.
No, I think that's pretty bad all around. Now, is that money going to come back, or do you think that this correction has put the market back to where it's going to be situated for the rest of the year, basically?
Yeah, I mean, my personal view is looking at the market is that I think tech has topped. Okay, I don't think we're going to have a market crash because the Fed is still pumping liquidity, although they've taken a break and they'll probably not do too much till the election's over. So I think we're going to see probably a rotation. We're going to get what I call a little hint of deflation here, where we're not getting the stimulus, right? We're in the big fight with the government with Pelosi, and so there's going to be money that's been being spent this summer is not going to be spent this fall, and then I think the taps turn on again going into 2021. So our view is be careful here between now and the end of October, and then you're just going to see where the money is going to flow, and you just follow the money. And I think it'll be rotating into small cap stocks. Trump's going to be all about jobs. I think Trump gets reelected, and he's just going to pour into the domestic companies, the small caps. The big companies, I don't think are friendly to him, and I don't think he's going to be friendly to them. And then as money comes in, our core position in mining, silver, platinum, uranium are the metals of the future, and that's where we're going to be, trading in and out of our positions on. So, crash, I don't think so with money coming in. A couple 10% correction, potential 20% correction, sure, but that's normal. People don't realize, you get like 4 or 5% correction in a normal year. You get a 10% correction every year. You get a 20% correction every 2 years, right? And every 10 years, you get a 40% correction. So these things have basically been hijacked by the Fed, and people view any loss as, oh my gosh, the world's coming to an end, where they need more of these things.
Now, you mentioned uranium. That kind of keys into my next story, because China is apparently building these next generation nuclear power plants. And I thought it was funny because we've been talking about the issue with the dam there. And if this power plant is anything like their next generation dam, the Three Gorges Dam, that is essentially on the verge of complete catastrophic failure, I think it's going to be really bad for not just China, but for the entire world. I mean, do you know what is so special about this next generation nuclear power plant?
Yeah, and these next gen plants are probably going to come to the U.S. too. This technology probably will save China from themselves. So, right now in the United States, we use water cooled, right? And then you have the control rods that go in and come out. That's what tries to stop that. Well, this new thing is called pebble bed technology, and what it does, it spreads the uranium across a space, so it has a natural spacing, and so you don't need water to cool it. And what's absorbing the excess power, it never gets hot enough because it sits in a sodium bath. And so even with that runaway, like what happened at 3 Mile Island, it can only get so hot. You know what I mean? It's not like the temperature is going to go above the temperature of the sun. So sodium will melt because it's a solid, so it'll melt and it'll just absorb the heat. And so you'll never get these steam containment, disasters that you have in these older plants. The great news about these, Zach, is that they can make them tiny. Okay, and so you may be able to to have more localized nuclear power plants that don't have to be next to big water sources to be able to generate energy. And the United States is now getting behind this. And even if there wasn't the United States, which we're the number one producer of nuclear energy in the world, I don't know if you know that. China's catching up fast. France obviously has more percentage, but there's basically a supply constraint in uranium around the world. And so, we're looking for uranium prices, regardless of what happens to the economy. Those plants need more uranium. And so we're going to see uranium prices rocket, and they're on our watch list. And in fact, we just got back into one again today, CCJ. And we just think that they're going to have a really good, I'm talking about multi-year run, Zach. So, yeah, so China may not even be able to screw these up. So, unless they just want to radiate their people. But I'm really excited about this. This is one of the few things where the Greens and the conservatives can actually agree on something. These are really clean, and they don't pollute, and they don't generate carbon for those who are upset with that myth. And but for me, as a nationalist kind of person, is that I want my energy local. I don't want to be beholden to people. And if I can get it without polluting, that's a good guy for me. So let's move to nat gas. Let's transfer over to uranium, and cheap energy is the key to productivity and higher standards of living. So we need to be on that mantra.
So there is a technology that could potentially be a competitor for traditional uranium nuclear power plants, and that's a thorium salt reactor. Now, this is something that I've heard spoken about for years, and it's great because it's not the same type of radioactivity as uranium. I mean, I guess at the end they don't have the nuclear waste. Thorium is also very plentiful, just in the ground everywhere on every country on Earth, but they've never been able to get it off the ground. And it always seemed to me to be such a no-brainer. If it is so plentiful and people could easily make it, and then there's no waste, why are they not making these things?
Yeah, I mean, I've read into it too because it sounded to be too good to be true, but they definitely can do it. I think they have cost-benefit issues with it. It's not as energy dense as uranium. And you have to understand too, the United States is already, we're invested into the trillions of dollars on these plants. So they can't flip from uranium to thorium on these plants. Now the new plants, are potential for thorium, but now with this pebble bed reactors that are coming into play, thorium may not be able to compete with uranium. I mean, this pebble bed technology is a game changer.
So can they convert the old uranium nuclear power plants to run on this pebble bed technology, or would they just have to build a new plant from the ground up?
It's just cheaper to build a new plant from the ground up. So.
Isn't it always? All right. Well, staying with China, there is a new leaked document that has been released, which showed how the CCP was using TickTock to spread Chinese propaganda. And I think anybody who's been paying attention to TickTock already knew that was taking place. I mean, TickTock was notorious for suggesting Chinese propaganda to people, videos that would trash the United States or make Americans sound like, disgusting pigs, stuff like that, and just glorifying China in general. What do you know about that?
Yeah, you mean like getting people in Korea to buy tickets to a presidential event that they have no intention of going to?
That's right. Yes.
Like that. Yeah. So I get confused with TikTok or Twitter. So I mean, I just think, it's obvious. I mean. And people must think we're stupid or something, a Chinese company, under the thumb of the Chinese government pushing propaganda, and then you got our politicians focusing on Russia, I mean, I just think that's why Trump's going after TikTok. So, and not just TikTok, WeChat too.
Yeah,
even more important. Yeah, so TickTock's a problem. I think Trump's playing rope-a-dope on this because I don't think he wants my daughter to start protesting at the White House. They did a great job of masquerading their propaganda, though.
They did.
I mean, it's masterful what they've done. But yeah, and they're collecting all this data on Americans at the same time. So pretty scary.
Do you know if the deal that Microsoft and Walmart were planning to make to buy it is going to go through it? That just sounds like such an odd couple, Microsoft and Walmart. Obviously two large corporations, but very, very different markets.
Well, both of them touch the consumer. Microsoft from the standpoint of the technology back end, and Walmart would love that consumer data. Mm-hmm. So I can see why either one of them would want it. The thing is that I think China has to agree to let them sell it. So because we're going to demand those servers remain in the U.S.
Yeah,
and so yeah. So I don't know. It still may just get shut down.
Well, we're going to have to keep an eye on it. I think there's plenty of kids in this country that are going to be very upset if that happens. So President Trump has been talking a lot about the upcoming possibility of multiple vaccines being released to treat the beer bug. And AstraZeneca was one of those companies that was apparently developing one. And it sounds like it's not going too well. Apparently, there have been some adverse reactions that were reported, and as a result of reporting that, their shares took a bit of a plunge. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so the adverse reaction, I think it's one and maybe two. If it's two, then it's a problem. If it's one that's being reported twice, then it may be a pre-existing condition. Basically, it was an inflammation of the spinal cord that one of the test subjects has basically reported, which is really scary.
Yeah.
And so now they're just trying to understand whether or not this person had it before, or if this is something that's caused by the vaccine. So that's AstraZeneca specifically. Mm-hmm. The thing with the vaccines, look, I know people have really strong opinions on vaccines, and so I don't know if I want to dive into the fray here, but for coronavirus, the coronavirus vaccine, it seems to be kind of a waste of time.
Yeah. Because
even the best years are, I think the best year they ever had was like 60 or 70% coverage, because the coronavirus is not one copy of it. It's like it comes in forms of 6s and 7s. You have to catch the right one to be safe. And the other thing about coronavirus that people don't realize, if you had it, like I had the Hong Kong flu when I was a kid. This is way before you were born, Zach. And I mean, I was to the point where, it's funny. I'd have been in the hospital if it was today. I was just in my mom's bed, at 104 temperature,
Yeah.
And they say when you have really strong flu infection, that you remain those copies in your rest of your life, and you may never get the flu again. For a lot of people. I mean, they say there's like a 40% natural immunity to coronavirus for people who've already had coronavirus in their life, and the Wuhan flu is close enough cousin to what's been already out there that your body recognizes it. And so, it's kind of stupid to rush a vaccine out or use that as a judgment for unlocking the economy when 40% of the population would never, ever get it anyway, or at least be asymptomatic. I could have got it. You could have got it. But if you had the flu before, your body recognizes it and kills it before you can get sick.
Right.
So I just think they set up obviously it's political. So if it was medical, they wouldn't be like, I got to get this thing out by October, right?
Right.
And so, it's sad. I mean, I think, you look at polio and some of the other things. I mean, measles, that's why you can't be totally anti-vax. But at the same time, coronavirus vaccine, flu vaccine, I've not gotten a flu vaccine my entire life.
Me either. No.
Ever.
Yeah.
And so, but so I think it's scary. What do we have, like 40 of them in the pipeline? One thing too, I'm sure your listeners are way up on this, is that this new R type of vaccine where they're going into the RNA, I mean, this could just like rewrite your DNA,
Yeah.
you know, and that's, I'm sitting there going, okay, yeah, Bill Gates, I'm going to let you rewrite me, you know. I
No
don't
way.
think, you know, and I mean, that's something that I think is really, really scary. The regular vaccines are just looking to try to create recognition. This RNA version of it, it literally can go in and rewrite your DNA, because RNA is what helps you copy,
Yeah.
you know, your DNA. So, man, this is Book of Revelation stuff, buddy.
That's what I think too, and I think all my audience is not going to be down for it. Like, there's absolutely no way I'm going to let them stick that in my arm or wherever that's going to be put. Well, okay, so we finally have some recognition for President Trump. He had that incredible peace deal that he brokered between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Was it Saudi Arabia or was it UAE?
UAE.
Okay, UAE, thank you. We have that incredible peace deal that President Trump brokered between Israel and the UAE, and now he's been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. And all it took was him doing the completely impossible. Barack Obama, in his first term in office, I think even before he actually did anything, he was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize just for getting into the office. Now President Trump, after 4 years of hate, finally does something that people thought could never be accomplished, and he is nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Do you think that they will allow him to win this, or are they going to pass him over and just completely look like fools in the annals of history?
No, I think he'll get it. You know, I think people were stunned, and I think, you know, there's an undercurrent. You know, if you just can scrape away the mainstream media, look, you know, most people on the right, you know, we tend to want to be more isolationist, so we don't really want war unless we have to be pushed into it. And most of the people on the left are anti-war. So, you know, you can say what you want, but there's people that are, in that sense, are rooting for President Trump being successful, bringing our troops home. I mean, he should get the Nobel Peace Prize for not starting a new war, which is new for America.
Right.
This peace treaty with UAE, this thing's going to blossom. And I mean, he did it great because he basically turned the Sunni world against the Shia world and told the Sunnis that you're better off with Israel than against Israel, in terms of that whole area can just blossom now with technology meeting money. You know, that's going to be a force to reckon with. And then look what's happening. So they have Kosovo and Serbia, which are implacable foes, both agreeing to reconcile and move their embassies to Jerusalem. And this morning, Chad just announced that they're going to move their embassy to Jerusalem. So he's creating this momentum here in the Middle East. And if you think about it, Zach, around the world, right, America really now is down to really one, I don't even want to even call China an enemy, but what I would call a significant, you know, economic competitor. Russia can't compete with us. Iran can't compete with us. North Korea is part of China. So really, the world has gotten to a point now where really it's this U.S. and China, and if they can work it out, you know, then I think people will be like, oh my gosh, there actually can be some peace, you know, in this world. We don't have to just constantly having these flagrant. And Trump's been the one that's been orchestrating this, and he's been consistent. And that lady, you know, also just jumping around here, the one who nominated him said, you know, Trump has done more for peace than Barack Obama has. You know, he was given it because of his potential, and he started 3 wars. You know.
Yep.
So yeah, I think there's a really good chance. I mean, and coming from Norway, that's high praise indeed. You know, and I think a lot of people have seen this, and I probably are pretty excited. And if I was Europe, I'd be really excited, because that kind of slows the refugee problem for them, stabilizes the oil, you know, for them, for economic growth. And, you know, this grand solar minimum comes about, you know, North African grain belts are going to be where Europeans are going to be able to survive. So, you know, a rapprochement in that area is nothing but good for the world.
All right, sweet. Well, I like the sound of that, and I certainly hope that he does actually win it, because I feel like he totally deserves it. Everything President Trump has done since he's come into office has been in favor of world peace. President Trump is the modern-day Teddy Roosevelt. He's done more for safety and security across the globe than any other president in the history of mankind. All right, Bob. Well, that's about it for today, brother. Thank you once again for joining us, and I look forward to having you back next time.
Yeah, thanks. Hopefully we'll talk in a couple weeks. We won't lack for material.
No, certainly won't. All right, bud. We'll see ya.
Thank you.
Hey guys, one more thing. I just want to thank everyone for watching today. If you have not subscribed yet, I urge you to please consider subscribing. There will be a couple of videos that pop up if you want to continue to watch. There's also some ways in the description of this video that you can follow me on other platforms. Please consider doing that as well. And if you want to support the program directly, there are means to do that below as well. Thank you all for your support over the last couple of years. Consider liking and sharing this video and help me get the real news to people who don't yet know they've been lied to.